contactor on the contactor. No factory OEM belt. This belt with XRC or XMR. We'll start here at the front. This is a bumper we have made. Style hose, the part number we give you. We'll get this done. Hi guys, this is Adam with Adrenaline Cycles. We're coming at you with a new style video today. It's somewhat of a round table, so it's basically topics and discussions that we kind of have around the shop here in this first video. Leading into the other videos, we will do more questions that you guys ask and try to answer those. We'll go around the table and tell you who I got here today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Brad.
Nick.
Travis.
All right, guys. Since this is the first video in this series, we'll go ahead and the first topic we just chose, and it's something we've been seeing a lot in the shop. I'll let Nick go ahead and start on the topic of it, and then just everybody will just chime in and go from there. But it's a pretty common problem we're starting to see on the X3s. Nick, you want to tell them about it?
Yeah, guys. So we have some people come in, just one wheel in the rear end pull. What happens? I think they broke an axle. Adam's what we're seeing. The inner splines between this is the inner ring gear and the rear differential, and we've noticed what happens after 4,000 to 6,000 miles. The axle splines versus the ring gear splines on the inside in here wear out. And they just end up slipping. Sometimes, I mean, every now and then we see them both go at one time. Sometimes one goes. I see people just put axles in there and go on, think that's it. But now, I tell you what, if I was in a big ride for a day and it stripped, you can get by for a day, put a new axle in, and the new splines on one axle will be enough to last for the day. But now if you try that as a permanent fix, it's just going to strip that much quicker and go back out. You eventually have to split the transmission, put new ring gear and two axles in. It is starting to become a common issue, like I said, but it's on higher mile. It ain't something that's just going to go out on you all the time right off the bat or something. It's higher miles. They start to wear. I don't know when BRP, if they'll address this and fix it down the road or what, but it's what we're starting to see. If you get an axle, one of them spinning, not spinning.
Would heat treating that gear help any? Or,
I don't know if it's already heat treating any or a different heat treating. I'm sure there's some way to make it harder. I don't know if they've somebody more metallurgy or
right, and this
specialists than me would have to look at that.
And this is something we've seen a lot out here on the East Coast. So if you guys watching this are on the West Coast in the dunes, are you guys seeing this? We don't typically talk to a lot of dealers out there, but from what we're seeing, this is a pretty common problem here on the East Coast. We don't know if it's the mud, the grit. We're assuming it is, especially with the miles, because some of the axles sometimes you can't even get out of these things, even with them stripped. You're beating, banging, and pulling and going on. So drop a comment if you're West Coast and you're having this issue or seeing this issue. Just let us know that. What's this cost, Brad, that you're seeing up front when you're billing them out?
Out of pocket, it's about $1,600. The parts isn't really what kills it. It's just the labor times. I mean, you do have to pull, the transmission, the exhaust has come off, both axles. I mean, you'll fight 2.5 hours on the axle sometimes. Usually, if it's a stripped ring gear, we're spraying the axles.
Right.
A day or two ahead of time just to make it somewhat easier. It's still not as easy, but it does help somewhat.
Yeah, and I know I said the miles I said, I mean, that, like you said, East Coast, that's for us. So our average around here, when we pull them out of the odometer, I mean, somebody's average on the computer, it says 12, 15 mile an hour. So guys riding them on the road, it's states where it's legal. And West Coast, I mean, they may be getting 10,000 miles on these things before they see it.
Right, exactly. And that's why I was saying, if they're out there and they are seeing that, like, no, they probably aren't. Again, the sand ain't going to get in there and destroy it like the mud and rust and gutting it like that. And two, we're just, the sand is a forgiving, terrain where out here they want the biggest lug, 35-inch tire, and they're ripping it as hard as they can, every weekend. What about online sales with that, Trav? I mean, have you seen an uptick in that, or is it pretty flat?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if higher numbers or whatever, getting higher miles and stuff, then obviously they're going to need the ring gear. And then we go back to, back order issues and different things that's going on right now. So, yeah, I mean, you see a lot of sales in it, so.
Right, exactly. Like I said, guys, And this is one of the most common things we see. A lot of other times we'll be working on X3 in the shop, and it'd be just, here and there. But this one is unfortunately a common thing, like Nick said, with the miles. We just see it. You can about peg it.
Yeah.
And, what the problem is. Like you said, Nick said, if you do, you don't want to fix it till it's out. So because it is an expensive repair, like Brad said. So like Nick said, just, put a Band-Aid on it to get through a weekend, like if you're in an event or something like that, but it is not a permanent repair by no means on that front. And it's all transmissions. I mean, we've had them as new as probably what, Brad, 2020 models had one go out. I mean,
it's just hit or miss.
It's just mileage. It ain't the year model. I don't think it ever changed as far as
No,
parts
I don't
look
think
up.
parts ever changed. Part number has it, Brad.
Not that I've seen.
Same.
I mean, if it has, it's been like
It's
one
just-
N number or something
Just
like
the fact
that.
we're getting 4 or 5 years into the X3 and we're seeing those units with
More miles.
more miles on them.
Exactly. So if you guys do have, an issue with the slip in the rear, definitely check the axle because that's the cheapest, easiest route to go. But if you're out there looking at it and the axles are fine, odds are that's your culprit.
If you can pull up against something and make the one wheel spin and the other wheel's not spinning, but yet you can see that inner CV cup set in steel.
Yeah. There's ways to check it, guys. Like I said, it really, it's a bad thing to have happen, but it's not the end of the world. Like I said, it's it's not super cheap, but it's not a $2,500 repair like Brad was saying.
Yeah.
It comes in $1,500-$1,600, and it's the labor that kills it because it's an intensive job for sure to get that thing yanked out and back together and go. Which the warranty's been good on them as long as they have service records, right?
Yeah,
Brad?
I haven't had anybody kick on one yet just because they're seeing it's a common issue now. They're getting used to seeing it and
Right. And used to as inspectors now as we're getting away with, for the most part, getting to send pictures because it is such a common issue that, warranty companies, the aftermarket especially, are seeing. Like I said, most time you're out of factory warranty by the time you ever get to this. Well, that's the ring gear discussion for the video. I guess we'll go on to the next topic here, and this is one I thought of, and I thought we'd talk about our first side-by-side. We've all got a side-by-side. We all had a side-by-side. We all started somewhere. We got Can-Am, 2016 probably?
Yeah, I haven't actually. I was in the computer today and seen that. I think it was the end of 16.
So 2016, since 2016 we've been selling Can-Am, and it was the OG Mav then, and the Commanders and whatnot. They was a pretty small lineup really for side by sides, but they've definitely grown that lineup since. But anybody want to start first with theirs?
if you want to start, you can.
I'll start. Josh will post a picture here of my first one was a 2012 Commander. It was a 1000 XT. It was a love-hate relationship. I loved to hate it, but it was a lot of fun. I mean, when I started working here, I didn't have a side-by-side, so Nick and Trav was nice enough to let me ride some, during events, and then I eventually bought my own. And it was great until I started bolting Super ATV stuff, and we realized really that quick it didn't convert from Polaris. Worked great on Polaris Super ATV stuff, but if you stuck it on a Can-Am, it did not like it, did it?
I think Super ATV in general's got some things they got right and some things they completely messed up. I think that was what we voted on yours was
we found out real quick, like, oh, this lift kit ain't much good. This steering rack ain't much good. And it was. I mean, it's a learning experience, guys, and that's one thing. If we got it here, we probably run it or are still running it to this day. But mine was a Commander I started out with, and then moved on to a Polaris, and then back over to Can-Am, and like I said, it was a love hate. I mean, anything gets you out in the woods. That was my first side by side, and I liked it. I mean, it did do that for sure, but definitely some of the modification that was on me put a damn bad taste in my mouth for sure. I won't run Super ATV nothing now. I mean, I will not. It's just a bad experience, and since then, it's all been good. Brad, what about your first one?
Mine was a '08 base model 800. I mean, it was the cheap of the cheap line. I mean, it's first side by side. The lady actually bought it from her husband's bought two side by sides from us now.
Right.
It was a goat. I mean, it just wherever you pointed it would go, but it'd beat you to death in the process of getting you there.
Exactly.
And
right.
I tried just like Adam done, tried Super ATV stuff, and it did not like it. I mean, 2 or 3 rides, you was putting the A-arm on it because they was adjustable, and they'd back out, and eventually got to the point of just welding the nuts to the arms to make them not back out and just to do a fix. But now, I've switched to Can-Am now, and, I probably won't ever go back to Polaris, but it's just, it's been a definitely big learning curve from, starting to that now to what I got now to X3. So it's a big difference.
And the machines, I mean, in reality, the side-by-side, really took off in '08 to 12, and that was Polaris was building that game. I mean, they built the 900 XP, in 11, and really, brought the performance aspect to it to where you got the guy from the the race four wheeler over into the side by side.
Yeah,
and it's just continued from there. I mean, these things now are ridiculous. 200 horsepower, ride like a trophy truck. So we all had to start somewhere though on the go.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
I think my first one was 2011 Razor S, and I mean, actually that was a pretty decent machine when I first bought it. It was low miles and everything. I didn't have to replace anything. I put a cage bumper on it, and man, I thought the thing with the S model suspension, I really thought the thing rode like a trophy truck then.
Right.
It's one of them things. I guess it's like your first cell phone. You thought that was amazing. Nowadays, if you had to go back to it, you're like, oh my gosh, I had to ride this thing. But no, for the first one, I mean, I guess that's what got me in the side-by-side market and able to ride with the wife and served its purpose well. I mean,
right, exactly.
But I guess it cost me a lot of money since then. I've had to upgrade. Once you get the bug, you're upgrading and better and better.
It doesn't stop typically with one accessory. We see a lot of people say when they buy a machine, they'll spend $50,000, and the wife's like, "Oh, it's perfect. We won't need to do nothing to it." And I'm like, "No, honey. When you get it home, a new accessory come out in 6 months, and you'll be like, I gotta have it." And that's how it is. Even if you don't trade machines, every year or two, like most of us do, you want to keep your buggy relevant. It just can be a lot nicer, a lot more convenient with the newer stuff that you can bolt on there. All right, Trav, tell us your monster side by side you had first.
2012 Razor 570.
One of the biggest guys in here goes to a 570. Hey.
Well, price I think back then was $82.99 brand new. So somewhere right in that range. But it's 50 inches wide, and you found out real fast that it'd tip over on the side real quick. It being 50 inches wide. But I remember one particular time, me and a buddy of mine, he had an Arctic Cat 1000. We went up to a place riding, and I got in his and he got in mine. We come to a mud hole, and he turned it over first thing about as soon as he got in it. But it was a lot of fun, back then. Like Nick was saying, you didn't really know a whole lot of difference in the machine. So something to get you started in, and I had a lot of fun in it. And
Shit, you barely can buy a decent sized ATV, probably a 450 or 570. You don't get anything under the $8,000 range now.
Exactly.
Prices just went through the roof on everything.
Well, and that's true, but even in that, that just goes. All of us getting into it, we wasn't all buying new machines. Doesn't sound like. We was buying still shopping on a budget because you didn't know when you was getting your first side by side. Unless you've been riding your buddies and know exactly what they had, you wasn't comfortable going spending $12,000-$14,000 on one of these things. Most people wasn't. So. That's where the used market does, keep a lot of ground, for the entry level rider that doesn't know if they want to spend right now, it'd be $20,000 probably to get in.
Right. It takes a commitment. Spend that kind of money and park it in the garage and not, if you don't know if you're going to ride it or not.
Exactly right. I probably clock, between my normal unit and a demo or two, I probably put about 1,500 miles a year. This year we probably didn't, but normally that's where we're at. Brad, what are you running a year on mileage typically?
This year I got too many because I literally decided I wanted to cut mine up. So I think I put 65 miles on it. Whenever you went to Black Mountain, that's about all I put on it this year. But typically going with Adam, me and him go to Black Mountain. Used to go 2 or 3 times a year. But we didn't get to do a lot this year. It's typically, with that back like Adam, 1,200-1,500 miles a year.
Right. And Nick, what's your average mileage?
I can probably get anywhere from 3,500 to 4,000. So I ride probably. I probably don't miss one.
You don't miss many
one
weekends.
weekend out of a month, and
Right.
that after work. So I get to ride a little more.
What about you, Trav? What are you going to guesstimate? You got to beat Brad. Just make up a number.
I think you can beat Brad this
I'm
year.
probably the lowest mileage here, but anywhere 300 or 400 is about it for me. So
Right, and it is again, guys. Nick does. He's got a place he can go, and he's right in the woods at TWRA in Brimstone, so it does lend to him and works out good. But we rely on Nick's, information and just what's going on with the machines because he does have more seat time than the rest of us. But that is important to have that. People online a lot of times. Nick sees it, Brad sees it, Trav sees it. People out there commenting, "Oh, this is the best thing in the world," and I'm like, looking at their machine and they've only had one and it's got 200 miles on it, it's hard to take, what that guy's saying, in my opinion, for, the real deal. Tires are the worst. We see that all the time.
Yeah, everybody has to comment what the best tire. In the reality of things, most people's only had 1 or 2 sets of tires, so they don't have a lot of experience across the board. It's hard to.
It is really hard, and they're expensive now. Used to you could change them around a little bit, but now, like I said, with the times, I mean, tires are getting up there, and you want to buy the right set of tires. If you don't, man, that sucks for sure. I mean, you're talking grand or better now, typically for a set. So. Well, I guess that's about it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, guys, at the start of the video, if you guys got questions, legitimate stuff, we'll try to answer it. On the next video, we'll go through the comments that's on this video and pick out some, questions to talk about on the next video. And hopefully you guys like this. It does take a little time out of our day, but we're hoping we're giving you some information and a little insight on what we got going on here at the shop. And as always, guys, hit that like and subscribe down below so you can stay up to date with all the cool stuff we'll have going on here in the shop. No factory OEM belt. This belt with XRC or XMR. We'll start here at the front. This is a bumper we have made. Style hose, the part number we give you. We'll get this done.